Got a huge game coming up on Wednesday night, Barcelona against Bayern Munich. Really fascinating game, not just because they're two huge clubs with great histories, but also because you've got Pep Guardiola's present team against the team that he built, and it really still plays the sort of football that he was responsible for developing at the club. They met in 2013 in the semi-final at the same stage. Pep Guardiola had gone by then, it was Tito Villanova in charge. But you look at those sides, there was a couple of injuries back then, but essentially you'd only have 4 changes from each team. So Barca have changed 4 players, Bayern have changed 4 players. What's really striking is the change in shape. Barca, pretty much the same 4-3-3 they play now. Bayern Munich, though, have changed completely. Back then they were a very standard 4-2-3-1. Now, far more flexible, far more fluid. Really, it's almost a guessing game what Pep Guardiola is going to come up with. One of the keys to his coaching is that he instills in players an ability to think, an ability to be able to switch, so they're not just fulfilling the same role over and over. And there's some great overhead photographs of Bayern's training pitch. You see the pitch divided into a series of zones, I think it's 16 zones. And Guardiola's whole philosophy is you have to overman in the key zones, and it's learning what the key zones are. So the tactical choices he makes is based on what's the basic shape that I can give the team that against this opponent, given the way we're going to play, we can overman in the key zones most easily. So it means that his players are having to learn a slightly adapted system for every game. And it's testament to how intelligent this Bayern team are, how intelligent this Barcelona team were previously, that they are able to make those changes. But I think he is far more flexible now than he was in his days at Barcelona. The goalkeeper's changed, Ter Stegen's come in for Valdez. Back 4, exactly the same. The midfield 3, Xavi's stepped aside and Rakitic has come in. The big difference is in the front 3. You now have Neymar and Suarez, and that's meant Messi moving out to the right. Now obviously that's a phenomenally gifted front 3, but arguably the most talented front 3 that's ever existed in world football. The concerns that people had that three players that gifted, 3 egos that big, couldn't find a way of playing, I think they've melted away, that they have got an understanding and they are very, very fluid. But I think what is interesting is that it's meant to change generally in how Barca play, that they don't press as hard as they did under Guardiola. The difference in focus of the front 3 is the tendency now is Barca a far less integrated team than they were under Guardiola. They're not a broken team, but there is more of a sense that you give the ball to the forwards and let them get on with it. And part of that is Xavi stepping aside, that you don't have this figure who's sort of the hub of every attack. You don't have these skeins of passes all going through the same man. So Luis Enrique's side, they're less possession based than Guardiola's Barca. They're more prepared to give the ball direct. So it's interesting that in the 2 or 3 years as Guardiola's influence at Barca has waned, they've become more direct, but Guardiola himself has become more prepared to play direct games if necessary. When he plays against teams who press very hard, and Barcelona still are essentially a pressing team, he has shown in the past a willingness to go long, particularly the game against Dortmund last season when he played Javi Martinez almost as a second strike off Lewandowski. Now, this is where he's got a problem with Lewandowski's injury. Who does Guardiola play at centre forward? Does he play Götze as a false 9? If he wants to go direct and he wants to go long, I think there is a possibility, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think there is a possibility that he could bring back Javi Martinez, who's just back in training, and play him as a centre forward with Thomas Müller just off him, so there are 2 options to hit. Or you could even use Bastian Schweinsteiger as a centre forward. Now that would be surprising, it would be unusual, but you can see the logic if he wants to bypass Barca's pressing by playing a more direct game. You'd expect Barcelona to have the edge in the first leg, you'd expect Bayern to have the edge in the second leg, and the question is how big those edges are. And I think really the injury to Lewandowski, if you're going to force me to pick, the injury to Lewandowski tips me slightly to think Barcelona will prevail. If he's back for the second leg, or if Guardiola can find a way of giving muscle up front without him, then perhaps Bayern can win it.